Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well today. Today we're back with another episode of Item Breakdowns, and today we're looking at a new Bruiser Mythic item called Goredrinker, an item that gives you insane health regeneration as well as healing and hard-hitting attack damage. This is a great item to pick up if you're an AD Bruiser that likes to dive into the middle of the enemy team and do a lot of burst damage and heal up in the middle of a fight. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. So jumping right into it, the first thing we're going to take a look at is the base stats for Goredrinker. So this item gives you 20 ability haste, which equals out to about 18% cooldown reduction, 45 attack damage, 400 health, and 150% base health regeneration. In addition, it also has a unique passive, Spite, which gives you an additional 0 to 15% bonus attack damage based off of your missing health. And it also has a Mythic passive, which gives each of your legendary items 5 ability haste, so by late game with Boots Mythic and 4 legendary items, you're going to have an additional 20 ability haste. Now, because this item grants ability haste and attack damage, but no attack speed, this tells us that this is good for fighters that are ability-based rather than attack speed-based. So, two good examples of champions you would want to build this item on would be Aatrox or Kayn, versus some more attack speed based fighters like Darius or even Tryndamere. Now, in addition to the base stats as well as the passive portion of this item, this also has an active component, meaning that it can be used as if it were a spell, and it reads as follows: Unique Thirsting Slash. Deal 110% attack damage as physical damage to enemies in a 400 unit radius around you. Heal for 20% of your total AD plus 12% of your missing health for each enemy champion hit, and this has a 15-second cooldown, however it can be reduced by your total ability haste. And as always, it is limited to one mythic item, meaning that you can only build this item as your mythic and only boots and legendaries as others. So now that we've covered the basic stats for this item, in addition to the champions that this item is generally optimized for as a mythic, I want to get into the appropriate build path and the epic items that build into this mythic. So the first item we're going to take a look at is Phage. So Phage reads as follows: for 1100 gold, we get 15 attack damage, 200 health, and the passive Sturdy. After you deal physical damage to a champion, restore 2% of your max health over 6 seconds, and this restoration is reduced to 50% for ranged users, so that would mean 1% of their max health over 6 seconds. Now, the reason we want to build this item first is that it gives us 15 attack damage and 200 health, which is good for both offense as well as some sustainability in lane. But also because we get that 2% max health in combat, when we deal damage to an enemy champion, it's going to give us that extra in-lane sustain when we're trading and going through extended fights. Now, the second epic item that we're going to build is the Iron Spike Whip. This gives us 30 attack damage and has an active component on it, similar to the old Tiamat. Deal 75% of your attack damage as physical damage to nearby enemies. Minions and monsters below 40% health take 200% damage with a 15% cooldown, affected by ability haste. Now, in addition to the fact that this is great for farming, the reason we prioritize this second instead of first is that this item does not give us any sort of health sustain or health regeneration in lane. So we build this second because even though it gives more attack damage, it doesn't give us the extra sustain that we'll have and give us an advantage over our opponent when we're fighting and trading. And the final epic item that we're going to build is Kindle Gem. Now, this only gives us 200 health and 10 ability haste, so it is by far the weakest of the three epics, but still obviously important to build because it builds into this mythic. And finally, once we have all three of these items, plus 200 gold, our Goredrinker will be finished. So now that we've covered the appropriate build path for the epics that build into this item, I want to get into the animations for the different components of this item and what you'll expect to see. So starting out with the first two epics, Phage and Iron Spike Whip, you can see here that when you auto-attack an enemy with Phage, you get a health pot animation, believe it or not. So as long as you stay in combat, you will see this green sparkle that surrounds you, and that means that the Phage is active when you build it, and you are getting the appropriate health regeneration. Now, taking a look at the active component on the Iron Spike Whip, you can see here that when you activate it, there is an animation that swings around Kayn and his character model and deals damage to the surrounding enemies. Now, the interesting thing to note here is that you can also animation cancel with this item. You have to experiment with each champion that you build it with, but looking at Kane's example here, when he Qs in after the dash has resolved, he spins around and fires Iron Spike Whip at the same time. So this item with every melee champion does have some animation cancel that they can perform with. And finally, taking a look at Goredrinker itself, you can see that it has a similar active to Iron Spike Whip, so it still has an animation that spins around Kane's character model. However, this one is a lot more red than Iron Spike was, and it also maintains its animation cancel. So you can see here that when Kane Qs in and you fire both the ability and the item active at the same time, both the spin from his Q and the spinning slash from Goredrinker will fire at the same time. And like I said, every melee champion that builds this does have some kind of animation cancel off of this item. It's just about finding out where it fits into their kit's combos. Well guys, that's all I have for you today, with Goredrinker being a brand new AD Mythic item for fighters that is optimized for ability-based bruisers. This is a great item to add to your arsenal for increased healing and DPS in the middle of fights. Don't forget to hit me up on Twitter, as well as for some awesome video game photography. Go ahead and check me out on Instagram. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we will see each other again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.